The Bible, let us remember, was not originally written directly in English language. It was a translation. If you look at the Hebrew word of ruach and the Greek word pneuma, both refer to the Spirit. Similarly, if you look at the Hebrew word neshama and the Greek word sukkah, refer to soul. Now, in addition, the Hebrew word has nephesh, which means breath, but has been translated as life in some places and soul in other places, as suited the purposes of the translators. And that is where the confusion is. In this regard, that we now want to look at the relevance of our explanation to the following. In the Bible, Ezekiel 18:20, we read, "The soul that sinneth, it shall die." And also in Genesis 2:7, "And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." You might have heard these quotations before and may be wondering, how do our explanation of the soul connect to them? Let us remember that the Bible does not teach that the soul is immortal, but says emphatically, "The soul that sinneth, it shall die." That never applies to the Spirit. The Bible never made such reference to the Spirit. Now, even though the soul is used loosely, interchangeably with the Spirit, there is a clear difference between the Spirit and the soul. So, Genesis does not mention the spirit of either man or animal, but talks about the soul. The Spirit has no beginning. It is by itself. But the forms that animal and man have, and sustained by breath, had a beginning, and that is exactly what Genesis records and shows us. That conclusion is perfectly in line with the words of Solomon. If you look at Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 19, where we are told that, and the reference is made to the body, which is formed of the dust. Man has no preeminence above the beast, for as one dies, so died the other. They have all one breath, and as one dies, so died the other. All go unto one place. So, the Bible, let us remember, was not originally written directly in English language. It was a translation. If you look at the Hebrew word of ruach and the Greek word pneuma, both refer to the Spirit. Similarly, if you look at the Hebrew word neshama and the Greek word sukkah, refer to soul. Now, in addition, the Hebrew word has nephesh, which means breath, but has been translated as life in some places and soul in other places, as suited the purposes of the translators. And that is where the confusion is. For instance, we are told in Genesis that Jehovah formed man from the dust of the earth and blew into his nostrils the breath, which is nephesh, of life. And man became a breathing creature, nephesh chayim, not a living soul. So we have a translation problem here. We are told in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, 19 and 20, I'm talking about verses, for example, that there is no difference between man and animal. As the one dies, so died the other. For they have all one breath, which is nephesh. So man actually has no preeminence above the beast or the animal. We all go to the same place. But there is a definite distinction that is made between the spirit and the body. For we are told that When the silver cord, and we have spoken about the silver cord at length, when the silver cord is loosed, then shall the body return to the dust whence it was taken, and the spirit to God who gave it. The death, or the word death, is nowhere connected with the spirit. We are told the spirit goes back to God, but there is death for the soul, and there is death for the body. The doctrine of immortality of the spirit is definitely taught at least once in the Bible. Spirit doesn't die. If you refer to Matthew chapter 11, verse 14, Christ said concerning John the Baptist, "This is Elijah," meaning that the spirit which had once inhabited the body of Elijah came back as John the Baptist. We're talking about the spirit, not the body. Spirit never dies. The spirit must, in the case of John the Baptist, have survived bodily death. Of course he did. And capable of continuity of life. So, generally speaking, the doctrine that a spirit or ego may be lost in the sense of being destroyed is without foundation. The spirit can never be destroyed because it is part of God. Otherwise, look at Acts 17, verse 28, where it is written, "In God we live and move and have our being." So that if a single spirit were lost, a part of God would be lost, and that is unthinkable. A part of God can never get lost. In no case, however, is the spirit destroyed. But, and this is a big but, the fruitage of its pilgrimage will be lost. If the spirit doesn't conduct itself well, all the things that it has gathered throughout the process of pilgrimage will be lost. That is how come the soul will die, because the spirit has lost all that. Even when the spirit has lost all that, it will have the opportunity to enter into a new pilgrimage, but not with the original colleagues with whom it has started the journey. No, but with another batch. Because eventually, it will have to go back to God as a creative intelligence, a self-conscious creative intelligence. So as we do things contrary to the laws of God, we should bear in mind that we are at the risk of losing our soul qualities. We stand the risk of killing our soul qualities if we continue to do the wrong things. Our soul will disintegrate to indeed justify what has been said, that the soul that sinneth, it shall die. In such a case, the spirit reverts to a certain savagery, idiocy. It cannot even use the mind properly, since no good quality remains with it. Only the animalistic evil qualities remain with such a spirit as a result of using low desires. And those low desires must be purged at the right time, which we'll be talking about when the issue of death comes for us to present on.